Welcome back for part 3. Now I'm going to start off with this very important glitch that someone on the Team Beyond forums reminded me of. I don't know how I could forget this because this is such a huge part of all MLG objective game types. You already know when you pick up an objective item you do increase melee damage, but in actuality you do increase damage on every attack you do. Since you can't shoot while you're holding an objective item, this is only noticeable on explosives and melees. So watch how I throw a grenade and pick up the oddball immediately. It essentially doubles the damage my grenade does, and we'll get a one-hit kill. You can do this with all 3 of the objective items, and either grenade type, and it's also possible that you could get it to work with rockets if you shot your rocket first and picked up the objective item before it exploded. Now we're going to go back to Midship, where I will finally show you the rest of the walls you can do grenade damage through. For this spot here, you have to throw it on the ramp where it starts sloping downwards. Now for the reverse, you can't throw it on the ground. It's either too low or it doesn't work. What you have to do is get it right on the tip of this edge right here on this platform, and it'll go through the wall and kill it. But that's a very tricky spot, and as you'll see here, I almost never get it to work. It is possible to do with frag grenades, but as you can see, it's also pretty tricky. You have to get a grenade to bounce just right. I didn't even expect it to happen. Here's how you can nade car 2 from car 3. Now there's a specific spot you want to aim for when throwing this grenade. I'm going to outline 2 polygons, essentially, and where they meet. The first one I'm showing off here is like a 4-sided polygon. And you can see where it connects to a triangle on the left. Essentially, where those 2 meet, the line between them, that's where you want to aim your grenade. It's hard to see that there is a bit of a difference of an angle when they connect. They're not on the same exact plane. And that is, I guess, what allows the grenade damage to go through the wall. So this next one is also very tricky, seems mostly random. You can nade through the car shell into car 2. As you'll see in this clip, it doesn't work most of the time, and I think unless you got extra nades to throw, it's really not worth going for. I'll show you in the next clip the specific spots to aim for. Now what you want to notice here are the seams, so to speak, where the pieces of geometry meet. As you can see, there's a bunch of little lines on car 2 here that are better defined by the grenade explosions. But you can see all the diagonal lines and the horizontal lines, like there's a couple right there. They're a bit harder to see in a video, but you can see them if you go into the game on your own, like an HD, playing on an HD TV, you'll be able to see them. These lines are where your grenades need to land to do damage to the wall. There are quite a few lines, but it's very tricky to land a grenade exactly on them. Here's another grenade spot through the wall that doesn't work all the time, but it's definitely worth trying due to the frequency of players that go onto this ledge on pink side. And all these grenades I just threw, none of them did damage to the guy on the ledge. The trick for this one seems to be not throwing the grenade exactly into the wall or the corner or the seam where the wall and the floor meet, but throwing it against the wall so it bounces back a tiny little bit, as you'll see here in this clip as I'm doing the grenade from the other side. Notice how none of these grenades do any damage, except for this last one I'm about to throw. I bounce it off the wall a little bit, and it bounces back and explodes a couple inches away from the wall. That seems to be the sweet spot, and works most of the time.
Round over.
Now here's how you can nade through the front of P2 to someone hiding in the corners of the P2 doorway. You'll have to throw your grenade so that it lands and explodes in the crevice between the front wall and the side and not touch the ground. The reverse is a little bit trickier to do, as you have to throw your grenade exactly in the corner on the bottom of the ground. I make it look easy here, but you really have to get it right in that corner for the damage to go through the wall. Here you see me throwing a long-range grenade that goes through the wall and also instantly explodes, which I'll explain in a later clip. Here's how you can grenade players that are under the bubble in a spot commonly called the toilet from above them. This is another tricky spot, as the area where you have to throw your grenade isn't very big. You can see that there's a shadow here that the bubble casts. And there's also a slanted part of the wall before the wall goes completely vertical. This area where the shadow meets the slanted purple area of the wall is where you need to land your grenade. Now it's kind of tricky because it'll be on a slanted spot and your grenade could bounce down, but if you can get it to stay up there, you'll be able to do damage to anybody sitting in the toilet. Okay, so here's a trick where you can get your grenades to explode instantly on the front of P2, and this only works for plasma grenades. What you need to do, as you can sort of see me do here, is when I throw the grenade, I bounce it off of one of the two walls, and then it bounces into the other wall. So you either have to bounce it off the front wall, so it bounces into the side wall, or it bounces off the side wall into the front wall. Now here are a few useful jumps in Midship that I did not cover in a previous video. I thought I would just show them off right here.
Flag returned.
Now from this ledge here, if you jump almost exactly straight up and to the side a little bit, you can get up onto this quarter circle ledge here that I showed off in a previous video. This is a very common car 1 to car 2 jump. I find the easiest way to do it is to jump into the car shell and just sort of slide your body along onto the ledge. Next we're going to go back to Lockout, and then I'm going to go over some things that I didn't include in my last videos. First was the BR1 to BR2 jump. Now, I showed off the S1 to S2 off the barrel, and this one's very similar, but much harder. I find the easiest thing to do is almost jump straight up on top of the barrel, then walk forward a couple feet and jump. And of course, crouch when you get to the top. Now here's a simple but very useful trick for going down safely into Blue Room. The pistols are essentially death traps, but if you drop down the blue lift, you can quickly lift back up at any time. Most people don't expect this either. If someone's top blue, they're going to expect them to drop down through the pistols. As you can see here, if you have sniper, they have oddball in green room. If you're quick enough, you can get an easy kill. Next, I'm going to show you a jump, I guess referred to as the ghost jump. It is a host client glitch that works online or on LAN and is very useful but pretty tricky to pull off and very hard to do by yourself. You need a teammate to be watching you. Now I'm going to show it off here from the point of view of the person performing the glitch. I find the best place to sit is, of course, all the way into the left side of this window, and with your left foot hanging out about 75% off to the left. Now, what you just saw me there was just jumping straight up and down. It didn't look like I was doing anything, but I was actually floating through the air, as you'll see here. The reason why you need a teammate to watch you, because he'll need to tell you if you're doing it right. Even if you think you're sitting in the right spot, it's kind of random, so you may not get the glitch to work. On your screen, you'll just be jumping up and down, but everyone else, including the host, will see you floating through the air. Your body is actually in both places. You're still on the ledge, and someone could push you off. If they were to shoot you, though, I think they have to shoot your floating body. Once you get to the top, your screen will automatically update to show that you're in library. And this is really the only way to tell if you're doing it right, is if you actually do it. You'll need a teammate to tell you otherwise. Note that hosts cannot perform this glitch. Now we're just going to go over some more simple lockout jumps that are very useful but very rarely used. For this blue ramp to S1 jump, you'll need to make sure that you're low enough and probably walk off the ledge a little bit before you jump so that you don't bump your head on the ceiling. Lockout seems like a very plain and simple map. The geometry is mostly rectangular, there's not a lot of corners or crevices to hide in, but there are these door frames, which can be very useful as they give you a little bit of extra hiding spot or a little bit of a height advantage you might normally not be able to get. Now, as you can see here, you can survive grenades from sitting up here, and this is one of the better spots to hold the oddball in a BR tower setup. If you can't tell where I'm at, I'm back BR just outside of the library. Here are some door frames I showed off in my previous video that are very useful for doing trick jumps. This door frame S1 is very useful for shooting across the map at BR2 or BR3 and having almost complete cover. If you're standing still, only about half of your head is visible. Now, in order for you to shoot, you'll have to walk forward, and you'll have to time your walking with your trigger pulls, so that when you walk forward and your head bobs up a little bit, that's when you need to fire. This will bring you out of cover a little bit more, but as you can see, about 90% of your body is still covered, and this is very good for shooting at a sniper across the map. Crouching will also completely put you behind cover. Combine this with a strafe, and you'll be very hard to hit. Here's a useful ledge if you're trying to push bottom blue but you're taking fire or grenades. There's not a lot of cover on this blue ramp from bottom middle, but if you sit up here, grenades won't do much damage to you and you'll get a couple more seconds of life. Here are some more spots on Lockout where you can grenade through the wall. That one didn't work obviously, but this one right here at the bottom of open ramp before it curves around the corner will go through the wall. Here's a very useful one that was pointed out by Wild Cherry on the Team Beyond forums. You can't shoot through the grate in the floor, but you can grenade through it if you can get a grenade to land on this light up here. You can also do it with frag grenades, but of course it's a lot harder to get him to sit up there. Here's probably the most useful grenade through the wall spot on Lockout. For this one, you don't have to throw the grenade right in the corner. You can really throw it anywhere along the little cubby hole there, as long as you get it as close as you can to where the floor meets the wall. And as you can see here, this can be very useful long range in BR to snipe tower fights, as weak players at snipe tower often go to S2 in the corners for cover. This is a simple trick where you can watch top middle from S2 while being completely in cover. It's a pretty common trick that most players know. And you can't shoot through the grates, but if you see someone coming, you'll be able to bounce a grenade and take out any players making the jump to S3. Here's a simple grenade throw that can take out anyone sitting under the S3 jump as they prepare to assault Snipe Tower. For the rest of this video, I'm just going to show off some very general grenade tactics that most people often overlook on this map. Notice on the left side of the screen here is the big rock wall slash ceiling covering part of Snipe Tower, Library, and BR Tower. You can use this rock ceiling to bounce a lot of grenades into spots that you wouldn't normally be able to nade into from various positions all around the map. I recommend checking out my thread on the Team Beyond forums, where Wild Cherry has posted a bunch of videos showing off specific nade tricks using the ceiling on Lockout. Alright guys, thanks for watching part 3 and stay tuned for part 4. I'm going to finish Lockout and we're going to start Beaver Creek.